What is going on, guys? Mikey P Games here, and it is time for our weekly podcast. Week 3 is right in front of us now. We're going to look back on Week 2, look at the results from our weekly picks, and go from there, really. Don was not able to join me this week, unfortunately, so I'm going to be riding solo. I'm going to go over his and my picks from last week and looking into Week 3. Kind of have a little more in-depth talk about matchups and games and what I like and what I don't like for each team. And let's just get into looking at last week's results. Alright, so looking at Week 2 performances, Dom had a complete turnaround from his Week 1 going, where he went 8-8. He went 12-4 in Week 2, boosting his record to 20-12. And then my 10-6 performance fell down to an 8-8 Week 2 performance, taking my record to 18-14. Now I'm just going to jump back and look at the Week 2 games before we jump forward and look at the Week 3 previews. The Thursday night game between the Jets and Bills, my favorite part was probably that Matt Forte got me 30 fantasy points. Still lost, but he got me 30 fantasy points. Looking at the Giants-Saints game, it was a complete disappointment compared to what we thought it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be as good as last year, but I still thought there was going to be more offensive scoring. Dallas and Washington, it was a real good game, Kirk Cousins trying to show he wasn't a fluke from last year, and Dak Prescott proving that he wasn't just a preseason MVP. It was going to carry over into the regular season. He was going to help the Cowboys get to where they need to be so Tony Romo can come back and finish the job so they can get to the playoffs. And that's exactly what Dak did. Miami at New England. New England was looking hot until Jimmy G went down, and Miami came back and won. Then you got Cleveland, who went up real early, and Baltimore came back and won that game. And as always, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh was a good game. And they even held Antonio Brown to, I think it was 40 yards. Seattle and LA was a horrible game. It was 9-3, Seattle losing. Atlanta completely dominated Oakland. San Diego didn't choke this week. Denver's still proving they have a top defense. And Sam Bradford led the Vikings to victory. And to end it all up on Monday night, Carson Wentz is still dominating. Looking to the Week 3 opener is Houston traveling to New England. And headlines for both sides are looking pretty big. We got Bill O'Brien and Vince Wilfork returning to New England, where they used to play and coach. And on the New England side, you got who's starting at quarterback. Jimmy G's down, and Julian Edelman's listed as the number 2 quarterback right now. Looking at this game, I have Houston winning, and I don't see how you can't have them winning. New England's coming into this game without Tom Brady, because he's still suspended, and Jimmy Garoppolo's hurt, and that's going to sideline him for at least a few weeks. That leaves rookie Jacoby Brissett as the starter. And if anyone thinks that's a good situation for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, I might ask what's wrong with you. Yes, in Week 1, I said it's Bill Belichick. He's going to find a way to make things work. And I still believe he can find a way to make things work with Jacoby Brissett. But I don't think it's going to be enough against a top 3 defense in yards allowed in Houston Texans. And it's not like the Houston Texans offense is something that's not threatening anymore. They are fully capable of putting up points. They have DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller on that offense, along with a capable quarterback in Brock Osweiler that I need to mention beat this Patriots team last year when they had Brady, when they had Gronk. Yes, he had the number 1 defense on the other side of the ball for him. Like I said, that Texans defense is ranked 3rd in yards allowed. So unless Tom Brady was playing, or Jimmy G's injury wasn't as bad as it seemed and he was going to play, Texans are going to have a good enough offense and a good enough defense to stop the Patriots this week. And they're finally going to lose a game without Tom Brady. Next up, we got Arizona at Buffalo. And last week, I chose against Arizona. It was probably something I did only because they let me down Week 1. And because this was the only game I could see going the other way, and man, was I way off. Me and Dom both have Arizona winning this game. And how could you go against them? Through the first 2 weeks of football, Buffalo has fielded one of the worst offenses in the league, and the defense isn't even that far behind them. There's just some things up. Rex Ryan's future in Buffalo isn't looking too bright. You go across the country to Arizona, you're looking at a team that just dominated an above-average team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, they're not good, but they're not bad. I think since Arizona ran up the score on them while only allowing 7 points, they're gonna get the easy win this week against Buffalo in Buffalo. Last week in week 2, Oakland disappointed a lot of people. And coming into the season, no one expected a top 5 defense out of this organization. But no one was expecting a last place defense from this organization either. And last week, against the Atlanta Falcons, it was truly shown how bad that defense is. And while I had high hopes for them coming into this season, I thought they were going to be a contender for that first place spot in the AFC West. I'm starting to worry, and you should feel a little optimistic about their season and their chances now. Let's take this into consideration here. It's Oakland against Tennessee. I gotta take Oakland. So is Dom. But look at Oakland here. Through the first 2 games, they've given up an average of 517 yards. And the only reason they've been able to keep it close in those 2 games is due to fourth quarter comebacks. And the only reason I'm picking the Oakland Raiders over the Tennessee Titans is because the Tennessee's offense hasn't looked any better. They somehow pulled off a 1-point win over the Detroit Lions last week. And that's even a shocker. This was a team that I expected to do something, maybe a 6-10 to 8-8 season. But I expected the offense to do a lot better than it is doing right now. They're going to have to take a lot of steps forward in order to beat this Oakland Raiders team, even though they have the worst defense in the league at the moment. And that's why we're both picking the Raiders. Alright, so next we have the Washington Redskins and the New York Giants. It's another division game for the NFC East for the 3rd week in a row. And coming into the season, a lot of people were expecting the Redskins to be the favorites in this division. Kirk Cousins had an amazing year. The first year he was actually the legitimate starter. They signed Josh Norman to a big contract. He was going to be the number 1 corner and actually shut down some receivers in this division. You know, you have Odell Beckham, Dez Bryant, and I guess you could say Jordan Matthews in Philly. Redskins looked good. But based on what we've seen so far, that's nowhere close to what we're getting. In this game, me and Dom both had the Giants. And that's saying a lot considering Dom hates the Giants. But when you look at this team, and reports are coming out that people in the locker room are complaining about how Kirk Cousins is playing so far, and we all know it's unimpressive. He's losing confidence in his team. And as a quarterback, you can't do that. If your team's not behind you, you can't win. Being a team is about playing for the guy next to you, playing for the guys on the other side of the ball, playing as a whole. And that franchise quarterback, Kirk Cousins, that they have down in Washington, he's not producing. The team knows that. They see that. How are they going to rally behind it? Looking at the Giants, they're 2-0. That $200 million they spent on their defense to revamp it looks like it's paying off. That front 7, I shouldn't even say front 7, that front 4 is playing very well. And the addition of Janoris Jenkins, he's already earning his paycheck. Shutting down Dez Bryant week 1 for 8 yards and scoring the only touchdown for the team in week 2. That defense that they spent $200 million on to revamp is looking good. The front 4 is stuffing the line for no rushing yards. And the addition of Janoris Jenkins shutting down Dez Bryant week 1 for 8 yards and no touchdowns. And scoring the only touchdown in our week 2 game. He's already earning his paycheck. And this offense hasn't even started yet. Odell hasn't gotten going. And while Cruz has showed up big time twice in both week 1 and 2, scoring the game-winning touchdown and catching a very clutch pass to set up the game-winning field goal for the Giants, it's only the beginning for him. And Sterling Shepard showed that he's a force to be reckoned with when he's the option to go to. This offense off to a slow start, but I believe this week is a big turning point for these two teams. I believe the Giants come out on top and this offense gets going. Next up, we got Miami and Cleveland. And both of these teams have looked really bad to start it off. Miami has just looked plain awful to start off the season. And while in Cleveland, they've watched two starting quarterbacks go down in back-to-back weeks. And while it's really hard to pick a winner for this game, Dom and I both have to roll with the Miami Dolphins. In the beginning of this game, week 2, the offense was clicking. Josh McCown was the quarterback. Corey Coleman was having a game. They were winning 20-2. And then Josh McCown went down. He tried to play through injury, and they lost. And now rookie quarterback Cody Kessler is supposed to start. Who knows how things are going to go for this team. And then Miami isn't that far off of them either. Miami's offenses look like a complete mess. And like Buffalo, the defense isn't any better. Really think about it. What if Jimmy Garoppolo was healthy that whole game? How out of hand was that game going to get? This really wouldn't be a game I would tell you to watch unless you're a fan. I mean, heck, your Sunday chores would be a better excuse than this. But either way, someone's going to win this game. I think it's going to be Miami. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Jacksonville. And this is going to be the first game me and Dom differ on. So while I can't tell you why Dom thinks the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win, I can tell you why I think Baltimore is going to pull off the win and continue their undefeated streak, and why Jacksonville is going to fall to 0-3. If you listen to our Week 1 podcast, you would know both Dom and I had high hopes for this Jaguars team. And by no means did we think they were going to win Week 1 against the Packers. But we especially didn't think they were going to come out and play the way they did. We thought they were going to kind of be contenders in this AFC South division. And we really look far from that. I didn't expect them to win Week 1. It was the Week 2 blowout against the San Diego Chargers that convinced me that this team isn't going to contend in the AFC South. They're far from it. The offense looks poor. Bortles is turning the ball over too much. And the defense isn't getting the job done. If you look at the Ravens side, the defense is exceeding expectations, and the offense is putting up just enough points to win the battle on the scoreboard. Unless the Jaguars somehow bounce back from these 2 poor weeks of football, I don't see how the Baltimore Ravens don't win. Me and Dom are right back to agreeing on this, and we're both taking Green Bay over Detroit. For once, it kind of looks like the Packers' defense is carrying this team. The offense isn't bad, it just isn't keeping up with the play of the defense. But like Aaron Rodgers told all the Packers fans last year, I'm going to repeat that message. Relax. Yeah, you guys looked lackluster against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football. But there's no reason to get worried yet. It's week 3, you guys are 1-1. You guys aren't on the way to 0-3 anytime soon. And you're playing the Detroit Lions, who are surprisingly a good team this year, but not good enough to beat you guys. A big reason why I gotta take the Green Bay Packers is because Detroit's playing games way too close for comfort, and their defense can't do anything to secure a win. That's the reason why I gotta take Green Bay. Packers still have the offensive talent, and you still have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. And especially with Jordy Nelson back this year, you can't be denied. Detroit will put a fight up, but by the 4th, by the 3rd even, Green Bay's going to have control of this game. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos at the Cincinnati Bengals, and me and Dom were both going with the Broncos again, and how can you pick against this defense? What's really making me pick the Broncos is the defense. Von Miller and this defense is playing even better than last year, which I thought wasn't possible, but clearly it is. They completely destroyed Carolina's passing game, and in week 2, they completely pounded on Andrew Luck. And how can you expect an inconsistent offense in Cincinnati to overcome that kind of defense? There's no way I can deny that Andy Dalton, Jeremy Hill, and A.J. Green will be making plays for their team. But at the end of the day, this Broncos defense has too much power, and Andy Dalton is going to be running for his life. Broncos walk away with their 3rd straight win. As boring as we might all think this game is going to be, I think it's going to be my must-game watch of the week. And that's Minnesota Vikings at the Carolina Panthers. Minnesota just won an impressive game on Sunday Night Football against the Packers. And the Carolina Panthers just rebounded hard against the 49ers. And if the Vikings can play the way they played Sunday night, I think it's going to be a good game that they put up against the Carolina Panthers. By no means will it be an easy one for that defense to slow down a high-powered offense in Carolina. But that defense is strong. And it does a great job of turning the ball over. You gotta remember, though, that Adrian Peterson probably isn't playing with a torn meniscus. And while it's not going to be all said and done without Adrian Peterson, I think that helps the Carolina Panthers out a lot more to pull off a Week 3 victory against the Minnesota Vikings. The LA Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What can you say about this game? LA getting shut down Week 1 and barely escaping their home opener with a W. Tampa Bay putting on an impressive game Week 1 and then completely falling apart Week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals. It's plain and simple. We're both taking Tampa Bay in this game. I can't get behind an offense that you can arguably say is the worst one in the league. Somehow they're 1-1 without scoring a single touchdown, which I just find incredible. If this team wants to do anything offensively, they need to bench Keenum, get Jared Goff going, even though I don't think he is the answer for that organization. But he will do... Can he really do worse than Case Keenum right now? Looking on the other side of the ball with the former first overall pick, Jameis Winston will be looking for a rebound performance. And although he's going up against a Rams 9th-ranked defense, I believe he will have it. The Buccaneers by no means have a perfect or excellent or great defense. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams are kept out of the end zone or at most score one touchdown. Tampa Bay wins this game easy. All I can say about this next game is what's going on in Seattle. They're off to a 1-1 start. They barely slipped by a Dolphins team and then lost to a helpless Rams team. But they have to be fortunate for playing a 49ers team that is somehow magically worse than they are. Yeah, the 49ers beat the Rams Week 1 in a complete shutout. But then they got demolished Week 2 by the Panthers. This is good as any week for the Seattle Seahawks to get going, and they need it. Seahawks win. If this was Week 1, it'd be a toss-up. But it's not. It's Week 3. Kansas City just lost, and the New York Jets showed they're the same team from last year. Both of us think the Jets are going to win this game. And the plain old reason is, for me, is that the Chiefs have an inconsistent offense. Meanwhile, the Jets have done their job in moving the ball and slowing down the opponent. They lost to the Cincinnati Bengals by 1 point in Week 1, and then had a great game against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday. The Chiefs are going to put up a fight. They might even make this a close one. But when all said is done, Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Jets team are going to put together a game-winning drive to put this team one more step in the right direction. At the beginning of the season, expectations were completely different for these teams on how they are now. Colts were going to have a rebound season with Andrew Luck finally healthy after a rough year in 2015. And the Chargers looked weaker than they have in previous years. But it's completely two different stories for these teams. For the San Diego Chargers, they've lost two big key weapons on their offense, but somehow find a consistent way to put up points, and they still won one game. While the Colts have dropped to 0-2, and they still have a healthy Andrew Luck. While I can't tell you why Dom thinks San Diego is going to win this game, I can tell you that it was a close toss-up for me. There's a lot to like about this San Diego's offense. Without Keenan Allen and Danny Woodhead, Phillip Rivers still showed he has it. Tossing up 4 touchdowns on the day, there's still a lot to like about this team without two key weapons. But for me, it comes down to this. Andrew Luck hasn't really had a defense his entire time in the NFL. This is the week Andrew Luck realizes he needs to put the team back on his shoulders and carry them to where he's taken them before. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to be optimistic about in Indianapolis right now. But Andrew Luck will find a way to win. And it will be in week 3 against San Diego. At the beginning of the season, I would never thought I'd be saying this. Pittsburgh Steelers at Philadelphia Eagles is a battle of 2 undefeated teams. Based on what I've seen from the Steelers, they could be a real deal right now. Especially once Bell's back. This team's going to be nasty. It's going to be hard for defenses to stop this team from lighting up the scoreboard. And I will give credit where credit's due. The Eagles have looked good offensively. Now, I'll even say it. They looked good as a team as a whole right now. Carson Wentz has been playing great. And I hated that the Eagles got the chance to take him at number 2 in the draft. I personally thought he was a better quarterback coming out of the draft. And I think the Rams fucked it up. Carson Wentz has played good his first 2 games. But until he needs to keep toe-to-toe with the top offense and even play a challenging defense, I can't get on the hype train for him. Not that I ever would because I'm a Giants fan and fuck the Eagles, you know? But on some real shit, this could be a real game for him where we see a legitimate factor of how he's going to compete against top-ranked teams. We all know that Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger is a lethal combination. And they have the league-leading rushing back on their team. This Eagles team hasn't seen a team of the Steelers' capabilities yet this season. And it's going to be a real test for them. And while I do think the Eagles have been impressive, I don't think we should expect a win from the Eagles this week. Steelers win. I'm not even going to touch this game really. And Chicago Bears at Dallas. Dak Attack and the Cowboys get the win. And to wrap it all up, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints. And while both teams have been pretty good on offense, they both have bottom 4 defenses in total yards allowed. This could easily be a shootout. I don't think it will reach what the Giants-Saints game was last year, but it definitely has the potential to be. Because it's really just going to be a battle of 2 NFL's most intense defenses. In the end, someone's going to have to win. And me and Dom think differently. He has New Orleans winning. I have Atlanta winning. Someone's going to have to win. I don't think Saints are going to do enough to secure their first win of the season. I think Atlanta improves to 2-1. Well, that's going to be it for this week's podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Next week, Dom should be back, and we should be back to our regular routine. But if you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. A lot of good things coming to the channel. Comments, suggestions, feedback. You want to get in a little argument about my thoughts? Leave them down in the comments. I'm going to get back to them. Until next time, guys. Peace!